Yay, the webinar has now started. I'm excited to see how many people we get because we accidentally started this webinar like 3 times already. So I appreciate everybody's patience. Okay, I can see a lot of people have joined. Oh, the numbers just keep going up and up. I hope you are all excited too. I'm so excited to hear all your advice. All right. Let's see if we can hit 100. Thanks for coming, everyone. I think most people are calling in from the West African time zone, but I am in PST, so that's Vancouver. Caleb, you're in Kenya, right?
No, I'm in Lagos, Nigeria.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah, we're on the same time zone. Yeah.
So I'm the only one in a different time zone.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere our attendees will have someone also in North American time zone. But
is anyone here not from West Africa?
I don't think participants can chat. Maybe I can. I don't know. This is the first time I've done this.
Should we turn on chat, Jennifer? Because we probably could. So right now it's only hosts and panelists can see.
Okay, yes. So I just turned it on. So feel free to write down which time zone you're calling in from as we wait for more people to file in. Oh, we have somebody calling in from India. Okay, what time is it there now? Like 9 p.m.? Did I get that right? Oh, someone from Kenya. Yes. Awesome. Okay, most people are from Nigeria. Somebody from England. I'm so excited when I see
Africa, Ghana.
Wow.
Cool. Don't sound serious. Cameroon, nice. That's cool.
Oh wow, so many people from all over. Not gonna lie, ever since hosting all these events, I learned so much about geography. So I always love asking this question.
I think I saw someone from Ireland.
Oh,
Priscilla.
Wait, what time is it there? Ireland time. 4 p.m. Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't think we have, okay, so EntryLevel is based in Australia, but I don't think we have any Australians here today because I think it's like 2 or 3 a.m. for them right now. So yeah. All right, I think I'm just going to get started because I am so excited to hear our amazing panelists' advice. So just some housekeeping before we start. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. This is our EntryLevel's How to Break into Tech event, and we have some amazing EntryLevel students who have successfully broken into tech, and I'm so excited to hear their stories. So just a quick intro about us before we actually get into everything. EntryLevel helps you learn and get experience so that you can get hired. And you can see these are our programs. Our panelists today have taken, I believe, the Product Management Level 1 program. Oh, by the way, Product Management Level 2 is coming soon, so I'm so excited for that. You are the first to hear it by being here at this event. So thanks for being here. And I believe Johnpaul took the Venture Capital Analyst program. That's another very popular program. All right. So I actually have a question for everybody. What is your level of experience in tech? There is a poll for this, so you should be able to see the poll where you can vote whether you're a complete beginner, you started learning tech a little bit, you've taken a few courses and are job searching, or if you currently work in tech. So I see the votes coming in. Feel free to vote in the poll, but if you're unable to see the poll, you can probably just put it in the chat. Awesome. It looks like, wow. Wait, panelists, can you see the poll results? Because it's pretty
Yeah. Can you? Okay. Yeah. A lot of people have taken courses and are searching for jobs.
Yeah, that's super cool. I kind of expected people to be complete beginners and started learning a bit, but it looks like it's more evenly split. Awesome. I'm going to end the poll now. So in case you were curious, these were the results. You can see the winner is people have taken a few courses and are job searching, and then some people have started learning a bit. We have 6 people who currently work in tech. So that is great for those 6 people. I kind of want to know who you are, so you can share your advice too, but this is not the event for that. Just so you know, the agenda today, we're going to do a panelist intro right after this, and then you can ask your questions using the Q&A box. So on the bottom of your Zoom screen, you should be able to see a box that says Q&A, and that's where you can ask the panelist questions, because we are not able to see you and we are not able to hear you. So you just have to use the chat or the Q&A. Okay, so some rules before we start. Please be respectful. I love the engagement in the chat, but please don't say anything inappropriate. Like don't ask any super inappropriate questions, but I trust that you guys have common sense and won't do that. Like I said, you can use the Q&A box to ask questions. You can even upvote other questions that you think are good so we can answer it first. And then you can also comment on questions if you agree or disagree with it. But like, again, just note that we can't see or hear you. So you will have to use the chat or the Q&A box. And another announcement that we do have some other events. So if you're interested in UX design or like data analysts and product management, these are our upcoming events next week. So you can see that in entrylevel.net/events, which I will link in the chat in a bit. Okay, now the part we've all been waiting for. These are our amazing panelists. We have Oluwatoyin, the product manager, Johnpaul, the venture capital analyst, and Lola, the product manager. So I'm going to call on you one by one to introduce yourselves. So Oluwatoyin, do you want to go first?
All right.
Hello, we can hear you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm trying to put on my video. Hi, everyone. Can you see me?
Yes.
Hi.
I can see you.
Yes, you
but
can.
Yes, it's a little bit laggy.
Okay. But can you see?
Yes, you look beautiful.
Yeah, we can.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here. It's amazing. I love being here because entry level is a part of my story. So it's so great being here. Thank you so much. My name is Oluwatoyin Abioye. I am a product manager here in Nigeria. I help develop solutions, successful solutions for the banking industry, fintech, and also I've worked in edutech. And it's been an amazing journey. That's just me a little summary. Thank you.
Amazing introduction. I'm so excited to hear more about your story and your advice. But in the meantime, let's move on to some other intros. Johnpaul, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. Hello, everyone. I'm Johnpaul, and I'm a VC analyst over here in Nigeria. So I'm super excited to be here because I feel like it's also a way to give back to the company or perhaps to the community that actually trained me. I did participate in the entry-level program. In fact, at the end of the 6th week, probably 2 weeks later on, I landed my first role as a VC analyst. And since then, it's been an amazing journey. So literally, I work with a fund called Adverse that invests in blockchain projects in Africa. And then as part-time, I also work at Programs VC, an early stage venture capital firm that actually invests in startups across Africa too. So you could see after 6 weeks at entry level, I'm actually handling 2 reputable jobs. That's amazing. Thank you.
Wow, thanks so much for sharing. I'm so touched because you were wanting to give back. That's an amazing thing that you said. So thanks for sharing. And I'm so excited to hear more about your experiences and advice for our students. That's actually a very good segue into Lola's introduction, because I actually got introduced to Lola through Twitter, and Lola had tweeted something like, from taking a product management course to like handling 6 products or something really amazing. And that's how I got to know her. So Lola, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Lola Omolola Odunowo. I'm product manager at Journeywork.
Is it me
I
lagging?
can't really pinpoint.
Oh.
I work at different companies. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Hear me, Jennifer?
Okay, I
Yes.
think my network.
We've got you.
Hear me,
We can
Jennifer?
hear you, Lola.
Yes, I can hear everyone now. More than one person.
Yeah, I was saying that I'm a product manager. I work across multiple product lines, and yeah, I also work as a tech analyst for a company in the US. So yeah, that's really it's about me. I joined. I started training with EntryLevel. I think their first ever cohort. So that was very interesting to kind of be able to feel like what it gave to kind of work and kind of work with teams across different cultures, different groups and everything. So yeah, I enjoyed the whole process.
Oh, thanks so much for sharing, Lola. You're doing so much. It's amazing. Excited to hear your advice too. So now I'm going to pass it off to Caleb. And Caleb, I believe you have a few questions to ask, so you can go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And so excited to be here with these amazing, I guess like tech workers and tech pros now who have done our programs. It's really cool to be around Lola, JP, Johnpaul, and Oluwatoyin as well. So yeah, thanks so much for everyone, to everyone who's come along. I'm going to dive into a couple of questions on just about like what our panelists are doing, and also what their process and journey was like going from not working in tech and doing maybe more traditional careers into getting into tech. So before we dive into the how, maybe we'll start with like what everyone's doing right now. So yeah, like Johnpaul is a VC analyst, Lola and Oluwatoyin, both product managers, but I'd love to know, what do you each do in your day-to-day? Like, what does your day-to-day look like in your career? And maybe we can start with Lola. Like, what do you do on the day-to-day, Lola?
My day-to-day is basically between meetings, different meetings, by the way. So I'm usually either talking to the designers, talking to the developers, talking to the marketing team, just basically being an all-rounder, ensuring that everything that has to do with the product is 100% ready. Also trying to, in some capacities, mentor other product managers, especially newbies, because I understand how I started, and I wished that I had guidance, right? So I decided to put that towards them and everything. So that's been then also as a technical consultant, I try to give advice to companies who are lacking in technical capacity. I try to just try to monitor their development team, because I also have some level of experience as a software developer. So yeah, that's my day-to-day basically. I'm very busy one.
That's amazing. So many things. Wow, that's incredible. I wonder how you juggle all of that, but I'm really, really excited to dig into how you started doing all that. Johnpaul, would you like to tell us a bit about, what does your day-to-day look like at Adaverse and also at Proximity Ventures?
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Caleb. So my day-to-day, it's actually pretty straightforward. Wake up and once I'm at my desk, the first thing I do is usually check my mails, because most times we've got venture partners at Adverse sending us deal flows through our emails. After a while, so I go through those mails and check out the decks that we sent for the day, and then I move them into the CRM that we use to actually manage them. So I had to update each companies according to their the categories that they fall in, and then of course review some of those pitch decks to see the ones that we could actually potentially set up a meeting with. So literally I'm more like the first point of contact when those pitch decks are being sent. So after which I shortlist the necessary ones and then send them across to the team. Then we usually schedule meeting at Advance from 12. So yeah, we schedule those meetings and I jump in those meetings actually. So I speak to founders around the world, people building cool things. I think that has been one of the most eye-opening stuff, because you do be here seeing someone building the next fintech, and then next thing you hear someone building up an app that will allow people use their USSD for transaction, crypto-based transaction, and next you're seeing someone else building the whole world in the metaverse, and next thing you're seeing someone else like building loans for people. So it's more like being on the forefront of whatever that is happening in the frontier market, especially in the emerging economy. And then my day-to-day is literally similar to that of like at Advance, it's almost similar to proximity, especially owing to the fact that I still handle the whole pipelines and the deal flows that comes across. And then I also go for day-to-day meetings, like meeting with founders, where I take notes. And after each meeting, we now sit over to analyze those notes. So most times, as a VC analyst, you're literally an analyst. Like research is a deep part of what you do, right? So spend most of my time also researching based on the market that the startup we're speaking to is in, just to further understand the product, research about the competitors and all that. And then once in a while in Advance, I deliver research on an industry every 2 weeks. So I think that's literally what my day-to-day is. And pretty meeting field anyway. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Johnpaul. That was great. That was a really good insight into what you do as a VC analyst. Sounds like a lot of things too. And yeah, Oluwatoyin, I would love to hear about what's your day-to-day as a product manager. Like, what do you do? And yeah, how do you fill up your days?
Okay, so my day-to-day is very similar to Lola's own as a PM. It's mostly meetings. There's a lot of meetings, but then I usually categorize it into 4. So what we do, we have stakeholder management, people management, discovery, and then delivery. Now, stakeholder management is meeting with the stakeholders where you get to talk about the vision of your product, what you want to do, how it aligns with the company's goals, and then you get feedback from what you've given them. So that's almost, it comes up a lot of days. Secondly, people management, we have to talk to the users, we have to talk to those I work with, the developers, the designers. So it's a lot of meetings also. Then discovery, it's when we sit down to talk about what we need to do. It's when we brainstorm, we look at our results, and then we brainstorm, think about what we're going to do about a product. If it's in the research phase, we do the research. If it's not, we look at what we're doing at the moment. And then the delivery, this is where I get to work with the designers, the developers, and then we try to work with them so we can get our products on time. So it's a lot of meetings and then a lot of work. You work on your product vision, you work on your product strategy, you work on your product roadmap. It's quite a lot, but it's very interesting to do. It's very interesting. Yeah, so that's what I do as a PM. So I work as a community manager sometimes. It's not constant for now, but I enjoy doing this because it was one of the things I was doing before I transitioned into product management. And what this means is that I work with organizations, tech companies, to be able to meet with communities or to help them create communities where people can come together, talk about their products, talk about what it's doing, the features, the advantages, ask questions, and get clarity on how to use the products. So that's what my day-to-day looks like. Thank you.
That's awesome. Wow. Sounds really cool. And it sounds like there's a lot of stakeholders involved in that process. Yeah. Sounds like it would be a very, very interesting role. I guess while we're with you, I want us to go back in time a little bit to a time before product management, a time before everyone was in tech. I'm really curious to know, like, what was the panel doing before they got their first tech role, and like, what sort of, yeah, like whether that's what you studied or the space you were working at. I'd be really curious to know, like, what was life like before tech? And yeah, maybe we can start with Lola again. What were you doing before you got into product management and you got into tech in general?
Okay, so I was actually writing. So I was a writer. And I used to write for companies. I used to strategize for companies. So I was either working in the capacity of a content writer or content strategist or a digital strategist. In any case, I was just strategizing, thinking of ways that they could do better, position themselves better. Yeah, and then I started delving deeper into product writing. And there, I think that was the first time I met a product manager, and I was like, okay, who is this person? Like, but I knew that I was reporting to that person, and that person was the one that was, trying to ensure that everything was fine on the team. Basically, that was when I worked at Enyata. So that was like my first ever, like real contact with who a product manager was. But yeah, that kind of gave me some level of insight into various fields that I now use in my day-to-day as a product manager. So I'm kind of happy for that kind of experience because it built me up into product management. So yeah.
That's awesome. And like, what was the, like the initial interest? You were curious about it, but like, what drew you to take that, to jump into tech? Like, what was the like why behind that?
Okay, so I needed a challenge. Writing was like, I felt writing was my comfort zone. I felt like I could basically sleep and just write. It was just like happiness to me, yeah. But I needed something that was going to push me. And then I was talking to my cousin, and I was like, okay, what is that thing? And he was like, tech. And I'm like, huh? What was that? And like, I mean, I'd heard of it, but I thought it was always going to be boring, right? So, but then I started learning how to code, and I found myself enjoying it, right? I found myself really having fun doing that. So I was now like, okay, but later I was like, this coding will take so much of my time, and I'm a youth, so I was not like, well, what can I do to find a balance, still stay in tech, but not be so techy at the same time. And then that was when a friend of mine introduced me to EntryLevel. Yeah.
That's amazing. So cool, Lola. Thank you. Johnpaul, what was life like before tech? What were you doing before you started in VC and before you broke into tech?
Actually, I think I was in medical school. I was going to be a medical physiologist. Yeah, I was just going to be a research scientist anyway. So it was a case of in school, someone still introduced me to, not like a cousin actually gave me HTML for Dummies. I decided to like read up the whole code myself. After a while, built out a few things. I did enjoy my time there, no lies. But like, so being self-taught, I was still able to learn my first role at ULesson. You can call it a stroke of luck. But as when I rounded off, when I left the company, I decided to build something out of my own. But when it failed, I came across a lady who was like, okay, I'm doing VC. I'm like, okay, you know what? I should actually have you mentor me. Well, after a while, worked a little brief with her, and I realized that I still had a lot to learn. So hopefully one day, I don't usually go on Facebook. I saw an EntryLevel ad. I decided to make a screenshot and then decided to sign up on the site. And then luckily for me, I got into the program and I participated in it. So after the participation in the program, one of the things we actually taught was how to literally learn the role. I think, yeah, how to learn the role in the VC space. And so one of them was like, we had a lot of projects that we did and all that. So coming new into the VC space, I had nothing to really show for it, other than I was doing some petty works in the former place I was working in. So I grabbed everything I had, like the whole program project. Those were my main portfolio at that moment. So I decided to start cold mailing people on LinkedIn. Yeah, exactly. So that was actually how it worked. I could mail some few persons, and one person actually replied. I'm like, okay, let me see what you've got. And I had an interview with him. He saw my project. He saw the whole research we carried out during the EntryLevel program. And then he was like, okay, he was going to introduce me to the investment manager. They introduced me to the investment manager, and he was like, okay, so I would like to actually know an industry that you're super interested in and all that. I was somehow then, even as a founder, I was somehow interested in no loss betting and all that. We discussed a lot about the market, but the insight I got from EntryLevel really helped me to analyze market. So I became a good market researcher. I could literally detect trends and all that. So, and I was given a huge research to actually carry out. So, and he was like, take your time. If it will take you 1 month. Of course, I knew it wasn't going to take me 1 month. So I sat down. I did the whole, I ran the whole research from Wednesday. I was supposed to do it on Monday. I decided to do it on Friday. Then he called me for a meeting within the weekend. And I'm like, okay, you seem to be the right person for the role. And then that was it. So that was how I actually got my first breakthrough in the VC space. So I used to see myself as someone that broke in through the window, because the conventional person who is always in VC most times, they seem to have finance background. I don't have any finance background. It took 6 weeks of entry-level program and some research, which I did participate actively in order to get there. And then while there, I still messaged. So in our Discord community, I think that's something cool about entry-level program, the cohort. Caleb was actually playing music. I think he was head of programs. He was head of programs, and he was actually playing music. And I'm like, okay. I saw a symbol on his profile that said connect with his music, or so Spotify. Actually, for Spotify, I decided to connect. I started listening to what he was listening. He was working, and I had already sent him a message on Discord. He didn't want to reply me, so I was just playing. I was vibing to his music. All of a sudden, he stopped the music. It's like he left offline, so I couldn't connect with him again. So I went to to LinkedIn to search him up. I connected him and I said, hey, I kind of like love the music you're listening to and all that. Then we got the connection. So when it was actually time, then after a while, I got a mail notification was like, oh, I would like to work with someone in my fund, proximity VC, you have to be this, that. I looked at him like, okay, this person, I would want to work with him. I did enjoy his music taste. So I applied, he interviewed me, and here I am. So that's how I got into 2 roles. Like within, I got into the first one literally within 2 weeks. Then the other one was, I think, a month or 2 after. So that's it. Thank you.
Wow. Awesome. Thanks, JP. Johnpaul, that was great. Love that backstory. And yeah, it's amazing. I think Jennifer wrote it down, but like a key insight there, and this is true, a key insight is like just finding a similarity between you and someone else who you want to work with or collaborate with, whether that's like an interest or like a trend that you find in common, or or like the same music taste. Sometimes that can really go a long way. But yeah, JP, like awesome backstory. I'd really love to know, like you were studying to do medicine, and you ended up doing like, learning HTML. Like why, like how did that happen? And what was that that transition from like, studying medicine to getting into tech? Like what made you interested in tech in the first place, and what made you switch from medicine?
Okay, at first, it was curiosity. Someone gave you HTML, CSS. I decided to try it out. Then I got intrigued. But then after a while, I think what happened was that I just started discovering what my purpose was really. It wasn't really going to be in the medical aspect. Probably I had got into there due to, an ambition from when I was small. And then another one through family influence. So it was more like that point, okay, I did this, I loved it. Maybe I could actually explore more. So a typical person could have just continued in coding, and then I'll be so good in coding because I still worked with one of the largest edutech platform in Africa, ULesson, after the whole coding stuff. But that wasn't just that wasn't the destination. Like it was more like a process. Like that wasn't my final destination, right? So it was more like discovering purpose while in school, and then chasing that purpose and then leaving medicine. And I knew when I rounded off, my parents were like, okay, you're done with your 4 years. So why not go back and complete the whole medicine? I'm like, okay, I just wasn't interested. After a while, I applied to university in Russia. I got admitted, and then COVID hit. So that was the good pain point. I spent that 1 year building things for myself. So I think that really shaped everything. And by the time the COVID was called off, I was already working, and my father could see the result of whatever I was chasing. That was my purpose, right? So there was no way for him to actually say, oh, you have to go back to this and that and all that. No. So that was it.
That's awesome. Thanks for the backstory, JP. That was so good. Oluwatoyin, I would love to know, like what were you doing before tech? What was your life like before tech, and what was your background? And then why did you make the move as well?
Okay, so for me, it's mine is quite different. I studied engineering. Then before tech, actually, I've been working for like 5 years. So I was working in the banking industry working, we can say that's tech, I don't know, but I was working in the banking industry, working around customer success. Then I also founded a women's group where we support ourselves to launch our dreams and all of that. So I was working and serving as a leader and a community manager in that role. But then in my banking industry, it was a customer facing role. So we had to attend to customers, we had to talk to them, answer the questions. Then I found out that sometimes we were just giving answers that were not helping them. We would just say something and it won't work for them. So I was thinking that I wanted to be able to shape the product. I wanted to be able to put some things in the product. So I started researching and thinking about, is there anything like that where I can get into the product? And I won't be a management person, but I'll be able to get into product. I'll be able to say, oh, this is what customers need. Can we put this thing up? Can we put this in our product? It was one of the biggest banks here in Nigeria. And I researched and I found out about product management. It was just what I needed. It clicked, oh, this is what I needed to do. And then I started searching for courses to take, a lot of courses online, free courses and everything. But after the free courses, you get a certificate of completion and nobody wants to give you a job with that. So I was at a crossroads and then I found out, so I got a little role as a product management intern. I started working there, but it wasn't really fulfilling for me. And then I found out about EntryLevel. What sold me on EntryLevel was that I was going to build a portfolio. That was the difference for me. That was it for me because I didn't have a portfolio. There was nothing to show. And then I'd heard that product managers don't really need portfolios. And then when you get to interview rooms, some people ask you for portfolios. And there's just a few people that have it. So that was the edge for me. EntryLevel helps you to get a portfolio while you're going through the program. That was just the edge for me. So after getting the EntryLevel certificate, I then started applying for more roles. So because of my experience, I've had like 5 years experience. Because of my experience, because of my little PM job that I've done and all of that, and because of my portfolio, I got into a lead product job. It was just something else. So that was my own transition to tech. That was how it happened for me.
That's so cool. Amazing. And I feel like you covered why you wanted to make that move as well. You're like, how do I put these things into products? Like, how do I shape the way something exists? Is that right? Was that part of the motivation?
That was it. Yes.
Yeah. So cool. I guess from here, I'd love to just know, like, you tried out, like you're in banking, you tried out like an intern role in PM, and then eventually you did EntryLevel, you got a portfolio, you eventually got a lead role, but like, maybe talk us through, what was that period like where you were searching for the job? Like, and what sort of things helped you get the job? What was that process like? And, EntryLevel sounds like one, but like, was there anything else you did that really helped you in finding that job?
Okay, so I think that one of the things is to get your skills, just build your skills. Number one. Number two, you need to get a portfolio. People need to see what you've done. We need to see what you've done. Even if you say it, they need to see what you've done so they can just go through, and then that helps. That's true. Thirdly, you need to reach out to people. Like Johnpaul said, he sent cold emails to a few people. I've done that. I've done that. And the role I got came from LinkedIn. So it was one of those persons, and the person says, oh, hi, I think I have a role that you'd love, a role that would work for you. And that was how I got the job. So I went on an interview and all of that. So like I said again, the first thing, you need to get your skills, get your portfolio. It's very, very important. Network, connect, meet people. You need to be able to talk about what you really want to do. And I also want to say that LinkedIn is a very important tool for you if you're a job seeker. You need to put out the things you've done. You can check people's pages, check Caleb's LinkedIn profile, check different LinkedIn profiles, see what they've done. It's very important for us to be able to see what you've done at a glance. In LinkedIn, I can see, oh, she worked here, then she moved here, then she moved there, then she moved here. It's important to see that progress. So it took me a while. Before I got the role. Maybe about 6 months to 1 year. But remember that I was already working as an intern. And then I had behind me like 5 years experience working in a really, really cool place. But then it was after doing all of that, I got the role.
That's amazing advice. And I totally agree. I think like, yeah, there's so many factors that go into finding a job. Sometimes it's like, I'll do this program and I get the thing, or like I network and I get the thing, but there's so many, it seems like there's a lot of pieces, right? Like,
yes,
yeah.
There are lots of pieces, and it's because you can't say that this is the one that will click. You can't be sure. So you need to do everything you are supposed to do. You need to work on yourself, know what you're saying, really know that you can give the skills, you can do the job. You need to do that. You need to get different spaces, just get them ready. Any of it can click, any.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I guess like when you got the job, was there feedback that you got when you were hired, which was like, hey, like we loved you as like, you know, we really liked you had this thing or this experience, or like you had this quality. Was there anything that was like, that stood out to them when they hired you?
Okay, 3 things that I remember. 1, in my bio, I add woman in product. I don't know why that will make a difference, but it made a difference. Okay, so I remember. He said that he went to LinkedIn to search for maybe product managers or something, and then he saw a woman in product, and he felt that was unique, and he checked. I don't know why that worked, but 1, that worked. Number 2, my certifications. I have a certification from EntryLevel. I have some other free courses that I've done, although those ones will just give you a certificate of completion and all of that. But I had my certification, then I had my portfolio, number 2. Number 3, I had experience in customer facing role, which was important for them because of the role I wanted to do. It might not be important for others if they are not looking for the kind of role that I looked for.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super helpful. I feel like that feedback is like really helpful for anyone else who's looking for a job and wants to think through what they need to land that role. Yeah, Lola, let's go to you next. What was the process of getting your first tech job, and like what are the things that you did that helped you land that job in the end?
Okay, first of all, I had to understand that it wasn't going to be easy, first of all, right? And I had to also understand what networking meant. So I had to start, meeting people, coming out of my shell a bit more, right? Trying to obviously start making friends in tech. So like, having a product designer as a friend, having a maybe mobile engineer as a friend. I needed to start building my circle the right way, along the lines of what I wanted. Because there's so much that as a product manager, you can actually do with a team. And your team does not have to be, oh, let's wait until we are professionals. Like the way EntryLevel taught us, right? We can actually, reach out to our fellow friends, reach out to our fellow, just fellow people that we know. Oh, you two are also learning this, or you're learning that. Okay, let's come together and let's try to build something. I feel like as a product manager, you can't really stand on your own for too long. It's not a sole role, right? So it's not really a sole role. But one thing I can actually say to this is that as a product manager, you actually need people around you. You actually need people in your circle. And that is because you are going to build a product. And in building a product, you need a team. These people are the ones that you will manage. These people are the ones that will help you understand your users and everything, So basically, I had to understand that to break in, I needed to first of all start making connections, the right way. Then I also needed to understand that I needed to document my journey. I needed to tell people what I was doing, even if people were not going to read it. I just needed to do so. Okay, this is what I'm up to. This is how it's going, either on my Medium, either on my Twitter. I was doing that, and I still do that from time to time, right? So I was also doing that, telling people about my journey. Whoever cares to listen can listen. And I remember the first time I was getting like my first ever role, the senior PM then told me, this was the exact word she used for me, I'm going to give you a chance, right? And that was because in between myself and it was between myself and a guy. And she was more like, okay, you know, you really did well. And this guy also did well. But one thing I was going to use was that how many women are in tech? And then I was like, I don't know. She was like, well, we are not much because she's the only product manager on her own team. And yes, that thing also comes up. Even when I'm working, I still see like I'm the only product manager, female product manager, and even the lady in the team. So yeah, it's really crazy. But yeah, these are some of the things I did to break in for myself. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting. Like, I think one of them that you said that feels like pretty, almost like kind of weird, is just like having friends who work in the space that can have a huge influence in like, not just, you know, whether you want to go in or not, but like whether you're likely to get in. You know, you're talking about tech with those people, you're talking about the job, you're talking about like the different things you work on. So that's some really cool advice. And then also just like sharing everywhere, like being really public about your journey is really cool. And I think that's how we found you, Lola. Like we saw that you were tweeting about EntryLevel, like, yo, who's this? Like, did our program. So that's super cool. Awesome. Thanks for that insight. Johnpaul, like, would love to know, how did you lend your to like, what was the process like for you going in from like, I guess, being a founder or being in like in medicine to getting into venture capital? Like, what were the things that you did to get to that role?
Okay. Like after after the whole medicine stuff I had stated earlier, well, I was already, well, to some extent, I was already up to speed in coding. Served and then got a role like through actually network in my first job at ULesson, where I was actually developing educational games for them. But then my entrance into the VC space, I think it was a case of luck, because after I had left my role at ULesson, what I had built had actually failed. So I was more like taking a rest. So I was at that down moment. And then I was supposed to have a merger with someone who was building a company too in the Eastern space. So once on time, I messaged her and she was like, oh, she's no longer building the company. Apparently has failed too. We are both in similar industry. So I'm like, I'm doing VC now. I'm like, okay, I want to become your unpaid intern. So I literally joined the firm a little bit, worked like, but the work wasn't that much. So it was more like an unpaid intern. There wasn't really much work, but then it was still insightful. When I came out, it was also clearing that I knew nothing. I just needed to upskill in the area of VC because I loved what I saw in the firm. It was more like a tip on what I knew what I had there. I wasn't going to get a job. So in fact, I never really thought about having a portfolio even. So when I saw the EntryLevel advert on Facebook, I decided to actually sign up. Then, like, at times it still amazes me that I paid just $5 to learn all this, all those stuff. Because after a while, yeah, because I applied for the scholarship and then I was given a $5 scholarship. So I mean, well, I was meant to pay $5. So after the program, I sat down, I started code mailing people. I think that was the point of it. But then there was something I did. I gathered all my projects and then I placed them in a kind of like PDF file, like that is shareable. So the first guys I actually tried to, I was making an audacious move, was Techstars. These were big guys. I was just shooting my shot. Spoke with their manager, I think a program manager on Twitter. I should like send in your portfolio. I sent it in. To date, I'm yet to hear from them. But then I switched from Twitter and I moved to LinkedIn. Then I started messaging like as much from as possible. But then I was also like, more like I was messaging the core person. Like, you need to be a GP for me to message you. So out of all my code mail, only one worked. And then he called me for an interview. And then he requested, let me see your work. the only thing I shared with him was because I think during the entry-level program, it was highlighted that you could actually use your project as your portfolio. So that was literally everything I had. So I sent it in, and then he called me, and then I went for we had a conversation, and I was also up to speed with whatever is it I did during my project studies at entry level. So I fell in love with research literally because I could literally tell you about markets, I could literally tell you about the whole market size, and it brought me up to speed. So the conversation with the GP was convincing enough for him to just introduce me to another person into the company, more like the person I'm currently working on. And then he gave me a research to carry out. So when he read the research that I carried out, he was actually he was so excited that when I joined in, he had to present the research as if I carried it out as as an employee of the company. So, and everyone loved the research and all that. And so that was actually, that was what the process was like for me. But if I had actually gone back and looking back, and if I never had those lucky breaks, I think one thing I could have done was I was already planning to start running another research in terms of fintech. I was literally just going to run a fintech research just to keep beefing up my portfolio, to keep building it up, and of course, start posting on LinkedIn. But as lucky as I am, not like I don't need to do that now. I now do that for companies that I work for the venture firms that I work with. Thank you. Caleb, you're mute.
Whoops, sorry. So I was saying, one of the cool things that you did was after getting a portfolio, going and just cold emailing people and just like finding people who make decisions at companies and cold emailing them. We actually have a question, and I think it would be good to answer it live, which is, how did you tackle cold emailing, and were there any strategies that you used? Tell us, how do you cold email someone, and how do you convince, a partner at a firm to get on a call with you?
Okay, so first, what I did, the cold mail I sent, it just literally started with, I would use an actual example because I still remember what I sent on the day. It was hello, Vincent. Okay, I just rounded off my entry-level program at this place. And then I was also opportunity to work, to train under Agnes at Susu Venture Capital Space. And I'm done with my internship. And after I said I was done with internship, I think the next thing I actually attached was to tell him that, okay, this is more like my portfolio. So what he did was he just said, okay, can you schedule it? When he was it was just a direct conversation. I think he just said, okay, would you be can you set up a call when I have available for a call? Something of that nature. I think that was his response. Then I had to we had to just negotiate on the time, probably just a little here and there, and then we found a suitable time. Then let me shock you. During my first interview, I was in that interview 10 minutes before time. So I was so excited. I sat down. But then I don't know if you've ever been in this Google Meet stuff whereby if you stay long in an interview, it somehow locks you out without even you knowing that you're no longer present. So he was there in the meeting waiting for me. I was also in the meeting, but I don't know, the network messed up. Then he came on LinkedIn message, I was there, but you weren't there. I said I was there. I had to start sending proof that I was there. Then we had to reschedule the second meeting. And so it was also a case of, at that moment, I was lucky because they were in search of an associate, but they hadn't posted, it was yet to be posted online. So what I realized is that most times companies hire through most companies, they hire through their network. Those jobs are not always listed. So you just have to do the little work, the little juggling by actually reaching out. So that was it. It was just a direct email. I just rounded off this, here's my portfolio and this. And then I think probably my portfolio got him attracted, because I think one thing entry level did was, for every time I list my project, if you look at my portfolio, it could be up to 3 or 4 projects that was carried out. So it was enough for you to actually know whether I knew what I was doing or I wasn't.
That's awesome. Thanks for that practical advice, Johnpaul. That was really, really cool. I might just put a question out to everyone now, and anyone can come in with their thoughts on this. And that is you guys have transitioned from non-tech backgrounds into tech. You taught yourself a lot of stuff. You built up portfolios. You've made the networks and built connections. What advice do you guys have for everyone on this call? Everyone on this call who's thinking about doing the same thing? You know, majority of the people here are learning how to break into tech. And so if you could look back at your experience and pick out some advice to give, like what would that be for others?
Should I go first?
Go for it, yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I would actually, I think just one advice. Network like your life depends on it. That's just it. Like almost everything I've come from, almost everything I've gotten in terms of role, like they're all networks. My first role at lesson was landed because I went for a hike. I wasn't even applying. A hike, then someone brought it up to me. So I think that's the first thing. No matter, irrespective of the fact that you don't know it, I think do not be ashamed of where you are. There are people in the ecosystem who are always willing. No doubt there are also people who prefers to be extremely professional, but be able to like come out, come clean, network like your life depends on. I think that's just it. And then the second thing, before you also put yourself out there, which is good, ensure that you could, to some extent, defend what you do. Because when you put yourself out there, it introduces you to people. The worst thing that can happen to you is when someone comes to you and they see that you're no longer the substance that you claim to be. When you do that, it's like it becomes your reputation, because someone else might ask, "Oh, I just met with this guy. What do you think of him?" Like, "Oh, well, when I spoke to him, I felt like he's not really up to speed or something of that nature." So I think that's it. Be very good at what you do. If you decide to actually go for VC program, like focus on the research, like carry out the whole hands-on stuff, like back to back. And then when you decide to put yourself out there, be able to defend your spot and do it well. Thank you.
That's great. That's really, really cool. Nice. Lola, what advice do you have for others on this call on how to break into tech?
Okay, so I think first of all, I'll say opportunity always like needs preparation, right? So, and I think that's just a continuation from what Johnpaul has said, but that is just the truth. Because while I was waiting, while I was applying and all that, I was also applying myself to things, right? So I was trying to know what was happening, follow up with tech news, keep myself abreast on what was happening in the industry, try to every day, if I wasn't trying to understand what was going on with UI, UX, I was trying other things because I felt like, okay, I didn't get this. Or when I put this particular thing out, maybe I got rejected. I just take it as, okay, that's happened. There's something I always say, I always use rejection like as body cream. I just use it to cream my body and like, okay, cool. Next one, can we move on? I've been rejected. Yeah. So basically I use those rejections to kind of gauge myself. So when I'm rejected outrightly, I'm like, okay, I'm not doing something right, right? And maybe when I get to like stage one, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm starting to do something right, but I'm not just there yet, right? So I kept like telling myself this thing, right? And I just tried as much as possible to position myself in places where I knew that I could be seen. So I tried my possible best. And again, I also tried my possible best not to have any shame. I just tried my possible best to leave shame at home and do what I wanted to do, put myself out there. Whatever anybody was thinking, I didn't care. I knew what I wanted for myself. And I had to like put myself out there as much as possible, right? And then I'd say lastly, learn the right way. Learn the right way, right? So after we take courses and everything, we should still go ahead and learn. It's a never-ending process. You're coming into tech. Tech is like today something changes, something new happens. It happens like this. It just happens so quickly. So what does that mean? If you're going to be a product manager, you have to understand that you're the one going to be at the forefront of these things, and that you need to keep yourself very, very informed. You need to be very, very, sure about what you're trying to do, however you're trying to, and then again, confidence. You need to have confidence, a lot of confidence, by the way, not confidence that now undermines your team, but confidence that you know what you're saying, because you meet team members, especially developers. A lot of them are very, cocky and everything like that. But you meet developers that want to like gauge, who is this person? What does this person have to do with me? So you have to always come correct, be 100% at all times. You can. There's no room to slack as a product manager. Yes. So I think I just want to advise them lastly, to honestly have their own way of product managing. There's no one size fits all approach. So you need to have your own way to product manage, still following some laid down rules, but then still have your way of going around it, a way that you understand best and a way that can obviously give you the best products. Yeah. Thank you.
That's amazing. I love the quote, using rejection as body cream. That's such a great quotable. And I think it's awesome. I think it's one of the questions that was asked as well, like, how do you handle and deal with rejection? And it's really cool that you use that as a gauge for like where you were at. You got used to it, but you used it like, you know, kind of like data for yourself. So that's an amazing approach. Thanks a lot. Oluwatoyin, would love to know, you know, what advice do you have for people on this panel, people, you know, tuning in on how to break into tech?
Okay. So I'll say gain experience and work on real projects. Like everything they've been saying, you really need to be able to defend what you're saying with your mouth. So please gain experience and work on real projects. So if you're going to take the entry-level course, don't play with it, give it your best. And then at the end, I keep talking about the portfolio. We need to see what you've done. So please, you need to really work on, get your hands dirty, working on real projects. Remember what Johnpaul said? He said he ran researches, he did a lot of researches and he put everything down. It is very important that you do that. The second thing I want to say is that you need to join a community. Join a tech community. It is very, very, very important. You cannot do this on your own. You need people to support you, to guide you. Don't go out looking for a mentor in the sense that don't go and meet someone and say, oh, be my mentor. It may not work like that because they have a lot of things they're doing and they would want to see what you've done before they say they'll mentor you. So please look for tech communities. We have some in Nigeria, we have some outside Nigeria. When you sign up on entry level, you already get a community. A community comes with the entry level cohort. So it's important you do that. And then networking, you need to network. So as you're joining the community, don't be an island, don't stay alone, don't just be there. You need to meet people, talk to people, attend tech events, join tech Twitter. Nigeria has a tech Twitter community that is very vibrant. You have a lot going on in tech Twitter. There's a lot going on there. Join it, be active, learn, and then put yourself out there. If you're sure about what you're doing or what you're learning, whatever stage you're at, put it out, let us see, let people see. Then you see people coming up to you, asking you questions or wanting to help you do stuff. So I think those are the things I would like to put out there.
Amazing. That was such great advice. And I guess just a quick follow-up question, like, what are some of the, like, I heard tech Twitter and obviously like entry level has a community too, but like, what are some specific communities that people can join if they want to learn more about tech and be, you know, around other people building in tech? And Lola and JP, if you guys have thoughts on that, you can share as well.
Okay, so, okay, let me go first. In Nigeria, I'm talking about Nigeria because right now I'm in Nigeria. So in Nigeria, Tech Twitter, one, She Code Africa. So don't forget, entry level as a community. So if you join, you sign up for entry level, there's a community, that's one. So Tech Twitter, there's She Code Africa. It's for females, that's for females only, females in tech. She Code Africa. There's non-tech in tech, that's for people in product management and product design, those who are not coding. There's non-tech in tech. If I remember any other one, I'll let you know, but those are ones that you can follow. There's Ingressive for Good. Yes, there's Ingressive for Good too. Yeah. Those
amazing.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks so much. Guys, I think that's time. That was an amazing panel. We learned all about the three of you, how you started, what you're doing now, and like the journey there. And it was just such great insight into like, it's amazing because you all are doing, you know, you all had different paths into tech and you all have very different things that helps you break in. So I think it was like such a nice spectrum of like how to get into tech and how to break into tech. And for our, I guess for everyone tuning in, I hope that this was valuable for you. and you managed to learn a little bit about how you can break into tech. I guess like to wrap up, just two things. One is like, I'd really love to hear from you in the messages, like in the chat, like what's one thing that you learned from today that you're going to use when you look for a job in tech? If you could type that in, that would be really cool, just so we can get to see like, you know, what you learned from this session. So feel free to put that, like write that in the chat, and I'll read a couple of them out. And then as you go through that, like there's also a feedback poll, which Jennifer can share a little bit more on, but let us know what how you found this event and how we can host better, even more informative events for you. So not sure if you want to add to that, Jennifer, but yeah.
I'm just gonna wait for all of the insights and learnings to roll in. But one comment I have is, please, we mentioned tech Twitter a lot. I run the entry level Twitter. We retweet a lot of people in the tech Twitter community. So be sure to tag us when you share your learnings on Twitter, or just give us a follow. I will also be including all the resources mentioned today on our website at entrylevel.net/events. That will include the recording of the session today. So don't worry, you will still get access. You can rewatch this recording as many times as you want. And all the communities mentioned will also be on that webpage. So that's what I have to say. Caleb, maybe back to you to read out people's learnings.
Okay, all right, let's dive into what people have learned from today. Alice says networking is what she's learned. That's great. Our create portfolio project is the major thing I learned. Bakari, hands-on experience and portfolio. Alice, focus on portfolio. David, join tech communities. Cold emailing like crazy. Build portfolio relentlessly. And then someone learned that what they learned was to continue to update their portfolio, utilizing LinkedIn and other social media platforms, networking like your life depends on it. Love that quote. Definitely a quotable from today. I'm definitely putting myself out there and working on my portfolio. Be confident and build network. Build portfolio network massively. Yeah, a community is something I want to look at starting as a data analyst. That's my take home today. Cool. Oh, there's so many of these. Let me see if there's any new ones.
Okay. While we're waiting, I'm just going to quickly launch a poll. So it would help us improve future events if you quickly help vote on how you found this event. It's just one question, really quick. You can let us know like if we could be improving or if you found it very insightful. So feel free to vote on that now.
Yeah, there's some really cool ones here. So I'll keep practicing and getting my hands dirty on some data projects and updating my portfolio. Go all out and ensure you can defend all that you have in your portfolio. Jerry says, I've always been ashamed of sharing my ideas and stuff I work on, but thanks to Lola, she inspired me to drop my shame at home. That's amazing. Go Lola. Okoria says to join a tech community and volunteer. Yeah, putting yourself out there is key. Okay, cool. A lot of networking. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the roundup. We'll give it a few more minutes so everyone can give rate the events. But I guess on our end, that's a wrap, guys. Thanks so much for joining. Thank you so much to Lola, Johnpaul, and Oluwatoyin for joining. Such amazing panelists. We've shared maybe I'll just share their LinkedIn profiles so you guys can connect with them in the future as well. Sorry, one sec. Awesome. And yeah, if you guys have any other questions, you can email us. Email Jennifer at jennifer@entrylevel.net. So good. Thanks, guys. We'll wrap up here. See you next time.
Bye.
Yeah, bye everyone.
Bye.
So much. Bye.
See you guys. Thanks so much.